Be on the lookout for Band-alism, a Magic City music forum brought to you by Bring Your Own Headphone Productions, a podcast that brings you the raw truth about musicians in the Magic City, their lives, their stories, the road they traveled to get where they are. Some good, some bad, but now they'll relive the journey. It was what it is. Jazz, country, and good old rock and roll. But we can't forget what I like to listen to when I'm sitting on the porch drinking my vodka lemonade. The blues. A weekly podcast brought to you by Bring Your Own Headphone Productions.
Ken?
Yes.
How are you doing?
How you doing? I'm great.
And so is it Patterson or Patterson?
Patterson.
Okay, with two T's. Okay, yeah. Great. Because I had you in my phone wrong.
Oh, I was a Patty?
Yeah, you were a Patty. And then Tim Milam said, no, it's with T's. It's not Patterson. And I said, oh, shit. So anyway, I changed that now. But welcome to our podcast.
Thank
and
you.
This is called Band-alism. And actually, this is going to be our fifth, our little episode. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I called you is because I watched you over the years and hands down, and I don't want to blow up your head right off the bat, but
let me adjust my hat.
Yeah, you better loosen that back, man. But I hands down, I think you're one of the best frontmen in Billings, and I've seen you outdoors quite a few times and indoors a few times. But the energy that you come off with is amazing, and I think that's what gets everybody going.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, that's a hard pill for me to swallow personally. I mean, I don't look at myself. I go watch all these other bands around town, and I always think to myself, I'm like, damn, they just look so cool. I feel like I look like an idiot half the time. No. But, I think we do bring a lot of energy. I think that's through our song selection and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's the band is excited about the response. So that just, I think, kind of helps with the energy a bit. It's nothing intentional, I don't think. I think it just comes off that way. So. But
I think that's part of the part of the effectiveness of it. Just like you said, you don't look at yourself that way. But I think that's the way it comes across. Yeah, people feel that. I
appreciate it. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to focus on it more now.
Yeah,
dial it in a little bit.
Well, don't ruin it.
yeah. Now, like my golf swing, I'll just totally mess it up.
Right. Once you concentrate on it. Yeah. So I want to go back a ways. I know that you told me earlier that Glendive was your hometown, which was mine.
Yeah.
Did you do any music in Glendive?
Yeah. I remember. So my dad was a musician. He played in a band called the Looker Band out of Glendive, bar band, wedding band, and obviously I think I got the bug from him.
Sure.
And his dad, my grandpa, had an old Tisco, I think that's the right name.
Tisco. Yeah, I remember.
Guitar out of Sears. He's still got it hanging in his shop down in Glendive.
They're kind of worth money now. Oh. Tell him to keep them.
Yeah, I won't tell him. He might put it on eBay or something. I'll just wait till I get it. But we got that from my grandpa. That became my first guitar.
Right.
And then he took me to Bismarck to Guitarland, I believe the name was, and got my first Ibanez EX guitar.
Oh, yeah.
And a little PV Chorus 210, and that was my first real rig. Okay. So then basically joined my first band in high school with a couple buddies, or a few buddies, I guess, and didn't really know how much. I didn't know much guitar at that time, so I kind of got stuck singing with. I had no desire to be a singer. It was like, who's doing the least, So
you got it like you sing it.
Yeah, so it was basically one of those things. But I remember playing, I don't know, like the VFW or something in Terry, Montana. Oh. It was our first show.
Yeah.
And I got the bug. And then, it played a few like bar bands and stuff down in Glendive before I moved to Bozeman, where the bass player in that first band I was in had moved, and joined him up there with some friends he had. And played up around there for a short time.
How old were you when you started like that first guitar with the Tisco?
I gotta say it was like 16 probably.
Okay.
Yeah. I had also had my mom had a nylon string acoustic too that was around the house. So I mean, there was always, obviously with my dad with the bass and stuff, there was instruments around. I mean, the band was set up down in the basement, so I was around it all the time. So it was maybe bound to happen. Although I told you, he was in your blood. He rebuilds classic cars, and I only know how to put gas in mine. So I didn't get. I went down the music path, not the car path.
So I just want to go back a little ways in the Glendive era because that was my hometown. So do you remember any of the bars down there? Do you remember the Hofbrau?
I've heard of it.
Okay, but of course, I'm quite a bit older than you, I think. But yeah, it was one of the big bars down there at that time, and they used to have bands. But we're talking, I moved out of there in '69.
Okay.
And so I'm talking in the early 70s.
Okay.
But let's see, what other places were down there? The Moose Lodge.
The Lowhaven.
The Lowhaven. I remember the Lowhaven, yeah.
I don't know if the Oasis maybe had.
Now, was that the one out by the interstate, by the graveyard? Was that the Oasis?
Boy, I don't even know the bar.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so we're going back up memory lane here. But, Glendive, that's actually where my music thing started, and not playing guitar or anything, but my dad cut out some guitars out of wood and we put rubber bands on there for strings, and then right behind us they were laying all this cable, so we had those big cable things, and that was our drums, and
awesome.
And so we'd sit there and do, sugar da 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 da, ah honey, and so we did that. And I thought, yeah, that's it. And I was thinking, oh man, this is what I want to do for a living, which I never did. But
well, we're still living it.
Yeah, we're still doing it. We're still living.
Yeah.
So right now, in your band, Repeat Offenders. I know you guys are busy because I hear about you all the time. What was your bands before that? Anywhere, not just Billings.
Boy, I'm trying to remember names of the ones in Glendive.
I know how that goes.
I guess I can only rewind. So when my wife and I went to college must have been I don't even remember what year that was. Yeah. We got married and we went just a couple years after.
Hopefully your wife doesn't watch
I know. I'm trying to I should have brought a timeline so I can remember all this. But notes, I took about 8 years off from guitar when we had kids. Kind of, maybe I could argue a slight depression because I was on a path to wanting to go do music. I mentioned earlier I went to MI and toured that with the idea I was going to go do that. And then the same week that I got accepted to MI, we found out we were having a child, and I had to make a big decision at that point. Changed our plans, and probably a blessing in disguise because I think I've realized now I would have been a real small fish in a very big pond. I mean, YouTube has now proven that to me.
Oh boy.
I love grabbing my guitar at night and sitting down for 3 hours and watching other people play guitar, and then I just put my guitar away. But,
well, I guess I don't need the pick.
Right. So took 8 years off. Moved back to Billings, got ourselves into new jobs. Basically,
you went to school in Bozeman?
Bismarck.
Oh, in Bismarck,
Marauders.
Yeah, okay.
So finished that up, came back here, kind of got back into life, if you will, and kind of had a realization. I'm like, kids are a little bit older. I have time at night to start playing guitar, so I kind of started fiddling around again.
Yeah.
Heard about the FOE in the Heights, and I'm a metalhead, so I'm like, heard they got a lot of metal bands and stuff. And I remember going there the first time I went, and Endeavor, who was a metal band around here forever,
I remember
maybe a few years ago, were one of the bands I saw that night, and I was just like blown away. I mean, I hadn't been out in the music scene at all, so I didn't even know what bands sounded like much anymore, to be honest. And they put on such a great show, had a great following, and it got me real itchy. I was just like, I want to start doing this again. So basically just started chatting with some of the band members from some of the other bands that were playing, not just that night, like over time, started to get to know a few. And so there was a band called Dimensional Care Unit that, again, kind of a heavy metal band, that their guitar player, I think, moved away to Oregon or something, and talked with those guys and got myself into that for a period of time. And then after that, formed a band with Ben Schmidt, Will O'Brien, Tony Killebrew, John Peru, and called that Sonic Crown. So again, I was just a guitar player. So I never had any aspirations of being a singer, I guess,
Really?
So other than some backing stuff, I was always just a rhythm guitar player. I was fine with my job there in the back doing that. So, so that
you got a good voice. So evidently it just came natural then.
I still don't even think I have a good voice, to be honest. I can just grunt and key, I guess, and maybe fun to watch. But I always get real sweaty when people say, "Oh, this is a singer in the band." I'm like, let's not use that word.
Yeah.
Can we?
But you are.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But, I think maybe the vocal thing just came out of necessity because when I mentioned earlier when I got fired from that band, again,
right.
No problem.
And what band was that?
That was Sonic Crown.
Sonic Crown. Okay.
Corey, Will's brother, ended up joining. So
Brian,
I decided, I'm gonna grab an acoustic guitar, scale down, and I wanted to go out and just play metal, alternative songs. On the patios I was telling you, the smoking ban had happened. All these patios started happening, and then pretty soon, people were. I don't remember patio life, to be honest, at restaurants until just maybe 10 years ago, maybe
probably when
ago.
The smoking ban happened. I think you're right. That's when patios got really popular.
So I just bought a little PA and I started doing that. And as a joke, I learned Kesha TikTok and put it on my little looper. Yeah. And I got more of a response from that, from like a Stone Temple Pilot song that I loved. Yeah. And so the beginnings of maybe what Repeat Offenders was as kind of more pop realm started happening. I started putting a little more of those kinds of songs into there, and I called it the Kenn Patterson Tribute.
Oh, really?
And it was funny because I was playing out at Asian Nights one time, and they put the Kenn Patterson Tribute up on the board. People started texting my wife. They're like, "What happened to Ken?" They thought it was. I never like, damn, I didn't think about that name in that context. So
that's fun.
So did that for a handful of years. Squire was a staple.
That was a big one. Yeah,
Jeff Flatness. He was a huge fan, as I was of his, and we had a great partnership. And that's the main thing I looked for back then too, is like forming a good partnership. Sean Graves at Hooligans, I played down there a lot, and we just kept talking about what's working, what's not. I didn't come in with any expectations, and they didn't have a set rate, if you will. We always kind of were just talking about nights.
So you evolved, from that. I want to go back a little farther, because you brought us pretty much into the future, but like back in the day, like who was your big influence? I mean, I know that you were a guitar player back then, and now you're definitely a front man. And if you don't want to use the word singer, but you're the one who guides the show. But so back in the day, what like guitar players did you listen to? Who were your influences? I know you said it was heavy metal, and so that'd be really interesting to me.
Well, my first favorite band was Duran Duran.
Okay.
Which, and honestly, I was just talking about this with somebody else. John Taylor, the bass player in the band. I had so much interest in, probably again because my dad was a bass player, and also what John Taylor does, I still think is amazing. I just love his style. But Andy Taylor in the band, that and Power Station, I just liked those guitar grooves. So I think I started kind of heading down that path. I remember my first tape was Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet. Okay. So I started inching into kind of that kind of style of music. And then pretty soon it just became like full on Sunset Strip sleaze metal. I was a Rat. I was Motley Crue. I was all of that.
The hair bands.
All the hair bands.
The 80s.
And then obviously AC/DC was in there. I mean,
yeah.
And one of the first songs I learned was Thunderstruck. You just stick on one string. So, but yeah, then I remember watching The Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2. Yeah. Which kind of focused on some of those hair metal bands and stuff. But there was a scene where Megadeth came on, and I was like, what is this? I hadn't been exposed to that kind of stuff, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I think that I took kind of a little veer off. I still loved my hair metal bands, but then I'm like, okay, let's go down this dark route, if you will. And then another buddy, Brock, a few years later, gave me a tape. He's like, I don't like this. I think this might be something you'll like. And it was Pantera, Cowboys from Hell.
Oh, but that's good.
So I
good guitar players.
Oh yeah. So I would say, Mustaine, Hetfield, and then Dimebag, and then Angus are probably my early influences, and people can still, like, if I write a metal riff, they're like, sounds like Metallica. I'm like, yeah, because it's in my roots.
Because that's what I like.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's crazy, because that style of music is I'm not going to say it's so different than Repeat Offenders, but it's definitely on a different road,
for sure.
And so how did you I guess how did you end up getting into that kind of music, a little bit off the heavy metal, but it's so popular.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one time I saw you guys do a Neil Diamond song, and I won't remember the name
Sweet
of
Caroline.
it. Sweet Caroline, and it was at the Squire, and it was outdoors. I don't know if it was a bike night or whatever, and you guys started playing that, and I thought, God, that's kind of odd that you played it. And then you got to that stop where everybody goes, so good, whatever they say there, and the whole place just went crazy, and I went, wow, how did you do that? And the place was just wild at that. So I thought, well, evidently that was a brainstorm that was the right thing to do, because after that point, and that was about your second set, after that point, the whole crowd was totally engaged in what you guys were doing, everything. Yeah. So how did you go that avenue?
Well, and I guess I should back up. When I say I was a metalhead, I mean, that's even still nowadays, that's primarily what I listen to.
Right.
But I was an MTV kid.
Okay,
I had all the MTV Party to Go albums. I did listen to hip hop like in the 90s, as soon as The Chronic came out by Dre.
Sure.
I was listening to metal, pop stuff, and even hip hop.
You were diverse.
Stuff. I was fairly diverse. I mean, obviously MTV was feeding me stuff, so it's like, here, this is cool. Have this, you know. So I was kind of in that bucket, but again, some of our songs that we select, might have come from those kind of popular, TRL, and some of those MTV shows that just for our crowd and the age that we tend to draw and cater to, it's just nostalgic for them. So fast forward to the band now, we kind of have a rule, an 80-20 rule, that 80% of the crowd has to know the song. Okay. It might be a different 80% every time.
Great. Yeah.
So we'll scan playlists on Spotify, let's say, of like 2000s pop or whatever, 2000 pop rock, the things that have high energy. We're always kind of looking for that 120 beats a minute kind of thing, to keep that energy in that same pocket. Unless people need a break, we might throw a slow in there.
Right. So let them breathe.
So I mean, it's not like that we're unfamiliar necessarily, but then each of the members in the band, we all come from a little bit different. John's a little bit younger. Weezer's his favorite band, so he knows a lot of that pop punk kind of stuff, and he's brought songs to the band that I'm like, I don't know, I'm not familiar with it, so I didn't know, and all of a sudden we play, I'm like, all right,
this one's here.
It works. So we've had those moments, where somebody just brings something, and there might be a handful of us that are kind of like, well, let's give it a try. And we're kind of like, if it doesn't happen after 3 times, or 3 different rehearsals,
replace it.
There's other songs out there.
And then you guys just added a new guitar player, Jay Fusen.
He's okay.
Fusen. Well, yeah, he's okay. But and he's such a staple in the guitar world in Billings. And how did that go? Because I mean, at first, I've known Jay for a long time, and the guy's one of my favorite guitar players, but he's got so much style. It's just incredible. But so you bring him in the band. Did that change your guys' direction a little bit? Maybe your music style?
For sure. So prior to him, the lineup before, there was a gal named Tana that played keyboards.
Yeah.
Her and I actually quit. Sorry, guys. I still get grief for this. Her and I quit at the same time. So the band stopped for a brief moment, and then our friend Pat Michaelis sang for about another year.
Yep, I remember that.
And then right after COVID, I decided to reboot the band. I'm like, this town needs some fun. Let's get the band back together. And Tana was going to be part of that.
Right.
But she got busy with life. And so we tried out few other keyboard players, guitar players, all kinds of stuff, and just didn't work out. So I'm thinking, maybe it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Well, Jay and I, our kids are the same ages.
Okay. We
happened to be at a wedding together, and he'd seen. So the Kenn Patterson tribute that I was doing solo.
Right.
John, the guitar player in the band, he and I started doing a duet called the Potato Chips. And Jay had been out to see us a couple of times at like Hooligans and stuff. And we were just randomly talking, and he said, yeah, thinking about getting some more help at the shop. Kids are getting older, thinking about maybe starting to go out and play a little bit more. And I'm like, what?
Hey, that would be great.
And I think he might have been suggesting maybe playing with John and I, and he said, just be a color guy.
Yeah,
you just add some little color here or there. Well, during the wedding reception, I'm in the bathroom texting the band. I'm like, what do you guys think about adding a guitar player?
Yeah.
And they're like, it would depend on who. I'm like, what about Jay? And the phone just blew up.
Oh, I bet.
And the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, it changes our song selection a bit. I mean, there were some songs that were very key heavy or key dependent for a certain sound. Not that that's, I mean, with pedals and everything else, you can probably pull it off. But we do find them, and John and him kind of negotiate. You know, they probably negotiated more when we first started out. Like, what part are you doing? What part? But I think we're getting to the point now where they just kind of know
what's going to happen
with their space. And we just walk into rehearsal, and they've kind of already worked on separate parts. You know, there still might be a little bit of like, what are you doing there stuff. But
so is it a 4-piece still? Five. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm sorry. 4, 2 guitars, bass, drums, and you up front.
Correct.
Okay, that's it. I think you up front is kind of like the the sphere, I guess. You know,
is that a bad joke?
But you know, so your theory, just from listening to you on how you set up the band and how you guys pick songs is incredible, because most bands don't do that. Listen to the Spotify and the popular things and try a couple for this many times. I mean, I've been in bands for a long time, and usually it's like, oh, I love this song, so we do it, and half the people in the world hate it, but we still do it,
right?
And we're going, that went over like a lead brick, nobody's dancing and stuff, and they're just, they're not in the mood, So I love that attitude or that process that you guys are doing. I think that's definitely part of your success.
Well, I think part of it is we realize we're a product.
Yeah.
If we were writing our own music and we wanted to, express our art, if you will, it'd be a different story. We'd play what we love. But so Dusty Young and I, we basically started the band together, and we always had a vision, and it was maybe just a sketch up, early on. And now I think it's got a little more color to it, and we're starting to again know what kind of product we are, and the kind of songs that will work. Still some fall off, like we've thought some killed, when we jammed on them, and then we try them out and they're like, it did fall flat. And again, we'll test it out again. Maybe it was just that show. So we're constantly analyzing the songs that we have, and we're like, oh God, I can't wait till we get up to 100 songs or whatever. It's like, well, we're never going to get there because we keep removing one and then replacing with the other. But we're getting to the point now where we like to use the word bangers. They're all just starting to be bangers, where it's like when we played a 2-hour show the other night, and I'm like, what are we not going to play? I mean, it was tough to throw things out, kind of, it's like somebody's going to be upset in the band because they really got a cool bass part or cool drum part or something that you might like. So
that's cool. I mean, that actually, you guys are like a product that you're doing. Yeah.
And I say that, I don't want to dismiss, the musicianship.
The feel and all that
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
And what,
you got to like the song.
And what people are seeing, I mean, but we do know that we're doing it for the crowd,
right?
To give them an emotion, let them have a good time, and so picking the right songs that take them back to a point in time in their life where they just have a memory and the singing just comes out of them. Versus songs, that's why we won't ever write an original song in this band. It just does not make sense. That's when everybody can go to the bathroom.
Right. That's what you guys are set up at. And I think that's neat, because it sounds like you guys there's two parts of your emotion in there. Part of it's the musicianship, and part of it's just getting the feel from the crowd.
Oh yeah.
The energy coming from here, and then the song I love, and you're getting both of them, and that's what it sounds like you guys are doing. That's neat.
And that was honestly a big worry when we first started with that idea of Jay joining. Here comes a guy like you from the days of pure guitar rock.
Oh God, yeah, and
how are we going to convince this guy to play a Britney Spears song?
Yeah, right.
You know,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we always joke we all have to swallow our pride pill. That's the only drugs we do when we take the stage.
Yeah.
Just pop a pride pill. But
That's great.
I understood it. You know, like we had like other people try out, and to learn 50, 60 songs that are in the vein that we play.
Yeah,
It's not the most fun thing to learn until we kept telling Jay, just wait for the first show, then you'll get it.
Yeah.
Just wait, you'll get it. Because this right now, it's not it's not fun.
Yeah, right.
But also, I think we're all starting to have fun with it because you take a pop song, we can't produce those same sounds with our instruments. So there is still a creativity aspect. And then if we're going to try to do any kind of mashups or anything like that, trying to figure that stuff out. So there's still some creativity. There's still some musicianship, that has to be figured out, even if it's a pop song,
yeah. And that brings me back to a thing, in Detective, back in the days when Paul was there, we did some country music, like some Johnny Cash, I hear that train a coming. And at first I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I am not going to do this. I'm going to go have a drink. And then all of a sudden we started playing it, and then you form your own, feel of the song. And then after a while, we're like, hey, let's do the Johnny Cash song, because it was fun, man.
Yes.
And I can see Jay doing that because he is very talented. He's very creative. So he could take a song, a 3-chord song, and probably give it some spice.
Oh, yeah.
And then turn it into fun.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's got to be what you guys are doing.
100%. I think we, like I said, we try to pick songs that are nostalgic. Everybody knows, but another trick is we got to stay true to the melody.
Yeah.
Because we have made the mistake before, like, oh, let's make it our own. And people will love it because it's a famous song. That didn't work either, because if you take that familiarity away from them, they won't engage the same way. And as a singer, or lack thereof, I sing very simple as well. I don't want to be intimidating. I'm not Adele up there. I'm doing wild runs. I do be conscious about singing simple, mostly because that's all I can pull off, but also
you're too humble.
People will sing along with you more if you just keep, I keep basically every verse or chorus the same. So if you've been there 2 other times, that third time, other than maybe slight changes because of the dynamics of that third, try to bring them back to that familiar place. So by that third chorus, they're singing, because I warmed them up twice before, right?
Yeah.
So that's, I don't know.
That's some great thought. You're pretty logical on your thinking of that.
We have to make it interesting, because again, the songs we're playing.
Yeah. But you think about this, as you were saying that, it makes a ton of sense, because so you can watch a pro band that the song has been number 1 and you've heard it 10 million times, and then you see them play it and they do it way different, and the first thing you're thinking of is, oh, he can't do it anymore. That's just too hard for him.
Right.
Or you get a band that's copying it and they don't follow it close enough, and they're thinking, well, they can't. They're just not talented enough.
Oh, yeah.
So I agree with you. You've got to follow that melody.
And honestly, I picked up some of those lessons from American Idol.
Yeah.
Or The Voice.
The Voice, yeah. I like that.
As cheesy as some people think those shows are, there is a lot of great advice that you can get from them, and watching, some of the coaching in terms of, express. I don't use a lot of emotion in our songs because they are literally just kind of hard hitting,
right?
Like get the energy going. But watching, them coach people through staying more true to the melody or holding
make
back.
Them believe it.
Yeah,
all that.
So I pick up little elements from that. Watch a lot of YouTube. You try to watch a lot of. If I go out, it's usually to watch local bands, and again, I think there's some great lead people out there right now, or just bands in general that just have great stage. I saw that you had Spike Vine down here.
Oh yeah, I like those guys.
Dude, I saw them at Thirsty Street.
Yeah,
it's been maybe a month or 2 or so ago, and they are a super fun band to watch. Josh is a fun drummer to watch.
Yeah,
it's just I pick up all these little things that others are doing. Yeah, even if I'm not a drummer, some of his antics I love, because I'm like, I can see myself doing that. Yeah. He's just kind of a goofball like I am on stage a bit. So I'm constantly studying.
that's interesting. That's the stuff that makes you want to watch them. When we had Spiked Mind here, I only heard a couple songs and I thought they were great, but the energy they had in this room with 3 people, and then Kevin and myself, I was just like, holy shit, these guys are just having fun. And there was so much energy, louder than shit, but man, it was great.
And he can sing too.
Yeah, he's a good singer.
The show that I saw him at, he said he had a cold. Like, well, gosh, you should be licking doorknobs in, because I thought you sounded great. Keep that cold rolling. But no, they're a fun band. Honestly, the female-led bands around here right now, I think, are some of my favorite. You got Salt and Shadow with both Lindsay and Sophia, that just is haunting, amazing sound. You got Gilda House, you got Joyce from the Future, and you could even argue Exit 53 and Jessica Alston, like all these powerful females on stage that have great presence that you just kind of, when we were at the last show, I went and watched Salt and Shadow. Sophia, the cello player, I was with the gal that was taking photos of them. And I'm like, can you even take a bad shot of her? I'm like, every time I look at her, she looks cool.
Yeah, right.
Where I'm like, you probably have to delete 97% of the shots you took of me, because
you gotta take one and
I got 17 chins and my eyes sticking out. I'm like, she just looks cool all the time. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, that's crazy. There's something about you get a female musician up there, especially if they're out of character. A lot of female singers, and so many of them are so great because females, have that range. But when you see a female guitar player, a female bass player, female drummer, and it's kind of out of their character just a little bit, it just automatically makes you go, wow, she's good. I think.
Honestly, we liked having Tana in the band because she was nicer to look at than us.
She was, she's definitely a great thing to look at. Yeah,
presentation wise, it's maybe a little less intimidating too. In some ways, a little more inviting, because I go to a lot of metal shows. It's mostly dudes in the crowd. Right. So I do. There is something more inviting sometimes about that. So I do like that. And then again, just hearing a different kind of voice, too, is nice. But
and then she was a good musician. She was a great keyboard player, good vocalist. So it was a good combination. And I think you guys have evolved. From I've seen you guys with who was the other guitar player that is not in the band anymore?
So Dennis Mallew played bass originally. It was him and I and Dusty.
And now Steve's playing bass?
Steve's playing bass now, but then Andy Dampierre was in for a bit, and he and Dennis would switch off guitar and bass every now and then. Oh God. I had a fear of this. I was going to blank out people's names. Ryan Riley. Ryan Riley played guitar for a bit too.
And that's, I think, who I'm thinking of.
Yep.
And so, and then, and when Tana was in the band, I mean, your guys' sound was different just because you had keyboards and then a female vocalist. And now you guys got Jay in the band. And I think it has turned it in from the focus of the keyboards, which was kind of standing out, now to where Jay is such a phenomenal guitar player. That's got to stand out like a big thing too.
And Jay's got a great ear. He calls it, he's the color guy.
And he is.
And he listens, for those, even the parts that aren't there sometimes, just a little, thing playing off what John plays or something even that Steve does on bass, They're, again, we listen to the original song, try it, and sometimes we do get stuck in the rut of trying to match the produced version too much.
Right.
And we have a term, we say, let's RO it up. It's like, kind of forget what we just played. We know where the chords are at. Now let's just reset and rock it a little bit
and more. Put it into what it's going to sound like live.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So if we can do that, it will probably stay in. And then we always joke, okay, now don't go listen to the original, because we've made that mistake. And somebody shows up at practice like, did you know that they actually do that part twice? Like, shut up! You can't say that right now. We already have how we're doing it.
In Detective, for all these years, we would learn songs, and then it would just transgress into how we played it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, I hadn't heard the song in 8 years or whatever, and then I'd listen to it and go, what song is that? Oh shit, that's that song.
You know what I hate? Going to karaoke.
Yeah.
And I see the words. I'm like,
that ain't
that's
right.
what they say. I've been singing it wrong.
They're singing it. No, they're singing it wrong.
They're singing it wrong. Whoever typed that in got it wrong. Yeah. We try not to listen to the originals because there's a few songs that just the way they do it is it will throw us off if it's fresh in our mind.
Sure.
So like, nope.
Yeah, and then it's really nice to have a band, as long as, like you said, is it stays in that same vein, but to have their own influence in it.
Yep.
You know, as long as it sounds like the same song. Because I have heard bands play songs and I'm going, God, that's the same words as that one song I know.
Yep.
You know? And then you're going, that ain't it.
Wait, is it a cover or what are you doing here?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, you know, the thing about your band, I mean, I enjoy watching you guys so much. And like I don't want to blow up your head, but I think you as a front man can really control the crowd. So what's your secret to that? I mean, how do you, like when you first get on stage, because it seems like when I've watched you, within the first 5 minutes, you grab the crowd. So what's your thoughts? What do you do? How do you do that? Do you have them participate? What do you do?
Well, I've actually never really thought about it. You know, Steve, our bass player, him and I are usually on the same side, if you will. So we're always kind of chatting before, and he kind of sometimes, right, go get him right away, you know, kind of like he kind of encourages me to think about it. So I'm a little more conscious, I guess, about it right before.
Is that Steve Sheldon?
Yes.
You know, he used to work for me.
He did?
Yeah.
Did you fire him?
No. Oh. No, he moved on.
That would have been a good story.
No, he moved on. Anyway, so you guys talk?
Yeah, you know, I mean, Steve, like when I get on stage, I'm kind of numb in the brain, if you will, because, you know, we were just talking about this the other night. I almost can't wait for it to be done because I want to know how it went.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm not thinking about the moment as much, and maybe it's my kind of way to block it out and not be nervous. I mean, I have a little anxiety and stuff still, but Steve will start talking about it and he'll give me gets excited.
Sure.
He gets me excited. And so
the intense.
So I mean, I think there's a lot, you know, like him kind of helping create that awareness a little bit. And all of us, we do our little thing, you know, before, so we kind of get ourselves pumped up. But I can't say that I know if I consciously do something. We do try to pick a song that will help.
That gives some.
Will help with that a little bit. So we try to front load it a little bit with some bangers. And then if we need to kind of bring it down, you know, we have a master list of our songs with all the BPMs and the styles. So, and the times, how long they take. So,
God, you guys are really organized.
So we'll come over for, you know, band practice, but it's more of a set list type organization thing. So if we have, you know, say 4 hours worth of songs, we're like, okay, we're doing an hour and a half show, 2 hour show. We got to start removing some stuff. And that's the hard part, right? It's like, everybody's like,
I don't want to do
this one. I look around and they're like, nah. I'm like, all right, we're moving it out for now. I mean, if it's not a hard yes, so we see where we're at. I look at the time, you know, subtract a little bit for talking, you know, because I know in between a couple songs or here or there, you're going to talk. So we try to get the songs first, right, and then create that little bit of ebb and flow by placing the songs kind of in the right places. And, you know, try to start out a little high, and then it might drop a little bit in that first set and then ramp up at the end of the first set. So you get them excited for the second set if you have a second set. And then the second set's usually just bangers, but you know, you start here and probably try to go out high.
So can you teach me how to do that?
No, because I mean, I can't say it works all the time, I guess, you know, but that's what we try to do. And again, I don't know. There's such a science to it that I'm not sure if I've even figured it out yet, but
it's a feel.
It is kind of a feel. And we'll make it audible sometimes too. Like we'll be looking at, like, we'll have them hooked. Everybody's just going, and I look at the next song and I'm like, I'll pick up the set list. I'm like, nope, move down. Yeah. So like we'll make an audible right then just to try to retain that vibe that we didn't see
the flow of the crowd.
Yeah, we didn't see it when we put the set list together that it was going to create a big dip if we would have played that song. Yeah. We thought, oh no, by then they'll need a break, because like one of the songs I'm thinking about is "Regulate" by Warren G. It's a hip hop song. Yeah. Very slow, but a lot of people know it, so it still fits that target kind of song that we're looking for. You know, it's got the nostalgia factor, and people rap to it. You know,
right? They know the words.
They know the words. Yeah. But if you just come off of something that, like, we usually would put it after House of Pain jump around because everybody needed a break.
Yeah, because that's
I mean, I was joking our last show, and I just posted a video of it again saying, you know, our most filmed video or film song ever
is that
one because it is
so
kind of iconic.
So much energy. Yeah.
And it's a fun song to sing. Like I said, I mean, I did listen to hip hop and rap, although that one's a mouthful sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it is. I bet. Yeah. So, can you tell everybody who's in the band? The names of everybody? Yeah.
Yep. So Dusty Young, like I said, him and I are, I'll say, the original members of it. Steve Shelton on bass.
Yep.
Johnny Verbeck or John Verbeck on guitar. Okay. And Jay Fusen on guitar as well. And then our official sixth man is Matt Stortz. He's runs our sound, runs our lights for pretty much every show. Okay. And honestly, that's been another key, I think, in terms of the consistency. We're always going for that, the McDonald's thing. Doesn't matter what McDonald's you go to, your Big Mac's going to taste the same. So whether it's small scale, big scale, we always try to bring in Matt because A, he knows us, he knows the songs. B, we just trust him with how we look and how we sound. Yeah. We all run in-ears, so we have no idea.
Right.
What's happening.
You know what it sounds like in your ear.
Yeah, we don't want to deal with the sound. We kicked around that idea earlier on, and Steve used to run sound for one of his old bands, and it was just stressful. You're thinking about something else. Oh
God, I've been there.
Yeah, you've done it. Yeah. So it's just he has probably made us be able to do what we're doing and not have to think about
Gives you the freedom.
Exactly.
To do that, yeah.
We hear a little squeak of some feedback or something, we're just like, no, just keep going. Matt will figure it out.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's not our word.
Yeah, I loved it. Our last show this time, my microphone cable kept popping out. Oh, and man. He comes up, and it just timed out perfect, and it kind of worked into the show where he comes up with some tape, and he's like, wah, 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 wah. And then as soon as he snaps it off, it was right when I had to come in there. So it worked out great. Everybody starts cheering for Matt, So no, it's fun, and we're like. Yeah. Honestly, 5 best friends or 6 best friends, because even, Matt will come out for drinks with us. And he's our official 6th man, even though he's kind of behind the scenes.
Yep. And I think you can tell that. I think the camaraderie you guys have, it comes off on stage. So what do you guys see, 6 months down the road or a year down the road? What do you guys see repeat offenders turning into? Or what's
so when we rebooted, can't say the word, when we rebooted, we were playing a little bit more. I mean, we needed to get our feet under us again, earn our stripes back almost, if you will, a little bit. Yeah. So last year we played quite a bit, still not as much as some bands. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we were playing every weekend or anything, but this year we were a little more selective, and we're trying to maybe position ourselves a little more as an event band. Yeah. We don't do, dive bars, if you will, anymore. I mean, like we used to with the Squire. I mean, we needed our place to cut our teeth and become a band. Yeah. So that was a great venue for that. But now we're looking, the outdoor venues, the big shows. We played Craft Local, which even on a smaller scale, those are fun.
That's a fun place.
Pub station shows are always fun.
Yep.
So those are the kinds of things we're looking at is more. I'll call it an event band. Yeah. So being a little more selective on what we pick, but also then using that time in between those to really dial in the show. Right now, everything is. I don't want to say ad-libbed or there's not a plan behind it. Right. Again, with Matt as our sound and lights guy, he's always wanted to put a show together where the songs have scenes, that he has pre-programmed in, the intro, the outro, all those kinds of things that, again, I'm thinking about bands that I go watch, like In Rapture, they got just such cool transitions, or the intro to the, that just creates this energy. Yeah. And I want to start implementing some things like that. And we've been talking about, like the light scenes and stuff. Sure. And so working on our song transitions, ending a song and not fiddling around, spending too much time before starting the next one.
Like Detective does, yeah.
But it's hard. And people don't realize how hard it is. Man, you watch, I mean, granted, some of the bands you go watch that do that, they play their, 10 songs. So they practice them like that all the time.
Right.
We're mixing stuff up all the time. So we've been grouping our songs in like groups of 3, sometimes 2. So we can start working on at least a consistent transition between those musically. And then also that might help Matt start to figure out how we're going to flow into those.
Sure.
So like the last show, our set list, I had everything color coded by groupings. So we knew where we're not going to try to take much of a break, let the crowd cheer, take a breath, and then
go right in,
kicks us in. And then once we hit a color change, that's where I address the crowd or talk for a minute, let somebody tune, or the capo's got to go on or whatever. So we try to be really strategic this last show about that. So
was that the one downtown?
Yeah, that was the craft local show. Yep.
Man, I heard that was great.
That was a blast. Yeah. It was our first time playing in that new venue. We'd played at the old one before.
Yeah.
So every time we played a new place, there's an anxiety. It's like,
oh yeah,
is anybody going to come?
Yeah.
Do we know where all the power outlets are? Do we have clean sound?
That's a good sounding room though.
Yeah.
I went down and heard Fake News there, and they sounded great.
Yeah.
That's a good room. We have never played there. Probably never will, but that's okay.
We'll get you in there. We'll do it.
Yeah.
No, it is a fun place. And I love that it's right next to the pub station.
Yeah.
Not too far from Thirsty Street, which I'd argue are the only real 3 stages in town.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more. Is it chicken or the egg? I don't know, but
the music scene in Billings is changing, but it's starting to come back again, which is good. A
lot of small acts, like acoustic type stuff.
But that's fun. I mean, I've seen some. Well, yourself when you were doing the solo thing. I mean, that was really entertaining. And now I've been seeing a couple duets around town that are really good.
Hooligans is doing a series. Hosting a lot of singer-songwriter acoustic type stuff. There's actually one there tonight. So, I mean, people are realizing there's maybe a hunger for it a bit.
Yeah.
And again, they're not necessarily venues that are set up for music, but they're accommodating it.
Yeah.
And that's good. I mean, again, once you can kind of prove that out and create the demand, more music venues
are going to open up.
Will open, or they'll change their setup to allow for it.
And I think a lot of locations are finding out that it doesn't take a huge place to do, something like that, a solo artist. To be honest with you, I just went down to Levity and saw, I can't remember what his name was, but he was just a solo guy with a looper and sounded great. The place was packed.
Yeah.
So I think that's coming back, and more bars will see that, hey, this is, people are hungry for it.
Yeah. I think there's got to be the bands first and the demand for them to be able to play before just music venues are going to open up, and try to think that there's going to be bands to play there. Yeah. So I wish the best for the music scene. I want it to be a little mini Nashville or Austin downtown. So
well, we'll see.
A mini one.
Yeah. But, back in the days, there was a lot of clubs. So I think Billings has got the ability.
I think so too.
Ken, I'm going to tell you what. You guys are definitely in bands in this town that have been and that are. I think you guys are in my top 3.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it really. And now I haven't heard you with Jay yet.
What?
No, I haven't heard you guys yet. Because we're working on the new band.
Yes.
But he's one of my favorite guitar players in town, so I just can't wait.
Live After 5, July 13th.
Is that right?
That's our next one. So,
no kidding.
Yeah,
so where's it at?
For Hooligans, so it'll be right
Hooligans, so right out in front. Okay, that sounds great. Well, I can't wait, and I'll tell you what, hey.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you so much for coming.
Appreciate it, thank you.
And you guys keep rocking this town.
We'll do it.
Be on the lookout for Band-alism, a Magic City music forum brought to you by Bring Your Own Headphone Productions, a podcast that brings you the raw truth about musicians in the Magic City. Their lives, their stories, the road they traveled to get where they are. Some good, some bad, but now they'll relive the journey. It was what it is. Jazz, country, and good old rock and roll. But we can't forget what I like to listen to when I'm sitting on the porch drinking my vodka lemonade. The blues. a weekly podcast brought to you by Bring Your Own Headphone Productions.